Welcome back to the Fantasy Hockey Podcast, Week 10. Yeah, right around the corner is the playoffs. I mean, the trade deadline for most people is pretty much over, or getting there.
Should be.
I think. Yeah, should be getting there soon. Well, I think what we're going to do is...
It does make me realize that for whatever reason, our listener leagues, the trade deadline is like well into the playoffs. But I mean, I'm just going to commissioner veto anything, obviously, that happens that late.
Anything.
It's kind of funny.
I mean, you can't. Yeah, there's no point trading. Imagine someone tries to trade with a team out of the playoffs in the playoffs.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody tries that, but yeah, I'm just going to snap veto
interesting.
everything that happens pretty much from now on.
Makes sense. I think for the Wednesday episode, we'll probably tailor it. So we obviously do unsus and sus high and all that good stuff. I think we maybe tailor Wednesday's episode a little bit more to trades. So it's like, who do you like buy low candidates, sell high type of things, as opposed to more like current week news. Maybe we'll go to bigger name players and actually talk about, okay, who should you be selling high? Who should you be buying low? And tailor it towards that. I think that'd be good for Wednesday's episode. So definitely keep an eye out for that. So we had a grammar school. We got a comment. I was saying Kirill. Well, we were both saying it. We were both saying Kirill Kaprizov. And it's Kaprizov, like Capri Suns. Thank you to the YouTube commenter that pointed out, and you gave us the great analogy of Capri Sun. So Capri Sunsov. That's how you say it. Okay.
I have a feeling I'm going to regress on that immediately.
Oh, absolutely.
Kaprizov
I think I'll remember
it just flows so much easier.
Yeah, but I'm going to always remember Capri Suns. So make a difference.
Sure.
Okay, so do you have anything to cover for the week?
I feel like for whatever reason, a lot of my takes have been wrong this season, but do not comment on that. But I will say
I held my tongue.
That my suggestion for Curtis Gabriel this weekend, I'm pretty happy with that one. I picked him up in 3 leagues for the Friday, Saturday back-to-back, hoping I would get a fight and maybe like an extra 2. So like really 5 PIM, across that is good. Anything above that's great. We're recording this on Saturday night, so I don't really know what is going to happen in this second game of the back-to-back. But in the first game, he got a misconduct, so immediately leapfrogged me into being ahead in all 3 of my leagues in PIMs. So that's exactly what he's there for. That's why he was a long-term target for me last week. It wasn't necessarily to grab him and hold him long-term. It's just once you're getting into Friday, Saturday, Sunday on a given week, you're behind in PIMs. Take a look at Gabriel. That dude he's going to have, for somebody that's going to play what I assume will be the amount of ice time that he's going to get going forward, considering the lack of what San Jose has in general. It's going to be extremely difficult to find anybody anywhere near his PIM per game pace, anywhere near it. Like he's going to blow Wilson out of the water.
Yeah, I was muted, and I actually had mentioned that I think he reminds me a little bit of Tom Wilson before he became like an actual, top-line guy getting points and stuff like that. That's kind of who Tom Wilson was.
Yeah, I think realistically, Gabriel's pace will be over 200 PIM. It's crazy. It's
insane.
he's the world's biggest pest.
It's crazy. Speaking of pests and stuff, how about injuries?
Yep. There are a bunch, unfortunately. Let's start with John Gibson, day-to-day with a lower body injury. He's just moved on to IR, so this seems like it's going to be a potentially longer-term thing. Boston has a bunch of players entering the COVID protocol. Among them are guys like Pasternak and Krejci. It's not
love that.
It's not a good list. You don't want to be on it. Alexander Radulov got a late scratch because this year hates me, and he's day-to-day with lower body injury, apparently. Kyler Yamamoto is day-to-day with lower body injury. We've got Matt Dumba day-to-day with a lower body injury. Tyler Toffoli is also a late scratch with a lower body injury. Mackenzie Blackwood has an upper body injury now. Sean Couturier as well, late scratch, lower body injury. Don't know a lot about it yet. Evgeny Malkin is week-to-week with lower body injury. You kind of knew it was coming eventually. This is the second time that Malkin's been out, but just got to hope he makes it back for playoffs. That's always the goal with Malkin. Tanner Pearson, week-to-week with lower body injury. And then returning, we had Chandler Stevenson, Dustin Brown, Wayne Simmons, I think is somebody that got a lot of fanfare, especially in PIM leagues early in the season. Probably has gotten forgot about quite a bit. Worth putting back on the radar. I haven't checked if he's got that top power play deployment. I would assume he does not because they were handling that a little bit differently at the beginning of the season than they were now. So taking a quick peek, he does. There you go. So he's back on that top power play apparently. So that's interesting at least. Rope Hintz returned, but who knows for how long. Kale McCarr is back. UC Saros is back and actually had a pretty good game today, being Saturday, where he was just peppered with like 50 shots or something. And I mean, lost, but not by a lot. I think he only let one in. 49 shots with 47 saves and
Good
one empty
Lord.
netter. Pretty good.
You go, Saros.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me, reminiscent of the Cam Talbot 50 save game from Friday night against Colorado, but he let in 5. So that's a pretty big difference. Tyler Mott returned, another guy that had a lot of fanfare early in the season. He actually has a goal tonight. Good shots and PIMS target. So he's kind of like a Blake Coleman with probably a little bit more point upside for those of you who need somebody like that. And then Adam Fox returned and Anthony Duclair returned. That's it for the injury report.
Okay, not as bad as I thought, although, there's some big names on there. So I guess, actually, probably about as bad as you thought.
If I had individually listed everybody on Boston that's on the COVID protocol, it would be way worse.
True. That is true. It'd be a lot of bigger names. So let's move into drop candidates. I'm going to start off first with the obvious one, Carter Hart.
Yeah.
If you hadn't gotten the idea yet that he's a drop candidate from us putting him on sus low twice, I think he might have been on drop candidates. I don't remember, but he's a drop candidate. He's done with him. Even in a keeper league, I don't know.
Yeah, I would have to be a pretty deep keeper at this point. Like in a dynasty league, I wouldn't drop him, but
no, of course not.
It's
that Philly defense is just something else.
Yeah, I'm pretty annoyed because I'm in this league. A slight tangent here, where goalies are like super premium, but you can only have 3 on your roster at a time. I actually didn't know but 3 max when I was drafting, but my thought was, I need to get 3 very good high volume starters because it was a league that doesn't really punish goals against too much compared to how much you get for a save. So I was like, 3 volume starters, I'll be good. The 3 I picked, and I used my 2nd, 4th, and 6th round picks for this as I was a last pick. So basically, like, you can consider it the end of the 1st, 3rd, and 5th as well. I picked up Jordan Binnington.
Nice.
Carter Hart, and John Gibson.
How's it going?
I am 2nd in the league in points, but it's just because I've done well on the waiver wire. It's been, I missed out on a Hellebuck by a single pick, which of course I did, but I think had I known that there was only a 3 max goalies you could hold, I probably wouldn't have bothered, at least with Gibson, and just waited and streamed out that spot, which is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But it sure seems like I have 2 stream spots now for goalies, but
yeah.
Oh well. My first one is Rasmus Dahlin.
Mm-hmm. Can we just add all of Buffalo to that? Because I have Olofsson, Reinhardt, just
anybody
everyone.
On Buffalo, pretty much. Except
anybody.
If you can stash Eichel, stash Eichel. But besides that,
yeah, Eichel's the only one stashed. But otherwise, everyone else is completely useless at this point, I think.
Yeah, it was the Eichel show. With him out, I don't know who you can trust on that team. You have to assume Hall is going to move. So I don't know. I don't know what to do with Hall at this point, but hopefully the trade does well for him.
I'd say if you're top of the table, you can hold him.
Yeah.
If you're fighting for a playoff spot, you can drop him.
Yeah.
And if you're somewhere in the middle, kind of depends on if your team's consistent or not. If it's not consistent, you have some weeks where you're really good, some weeks where you're really bad, you probably want to drop Hall.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. My next one here is going to be Shane Gostisbehere, also a Philadelphia Flyer. We had a lot of questions about him of I know you guys recommended him, and now he's been benched 3 times. What should I do? You can safely drop him.
Yep, I have him as well. My last one here is Mike Hoffman. Left wing, right wing, 78%. It's just, the funny thing is we mentioned him early in the season for similar reasons, that he's playing 3rd line, 2nd power play. And then he wasn't for a minute and just did amazingly for a little while there. And it sure looked like we were going to have egg on our face for a minute. I dropped him in a handful of leagues. People picked him up, and I was like, great, this is basically going to be Kuba League all over again from the beginning of the season. Or Tyson Berry, who I also dropped at the beginning of the season. That was great. But I think this time we can feel a little bit more confident in this selection with so many of the top players on the Blues coming back, guys like Tarasenko and Schwartz. It just makes it even harder for Hoffman to break into that top power play. And it seems like, despite signing him, he does not appear to be in the future plans for the Blues. So I don't know that I'm surprised he's still 78% owned, considering his production this season.
Agreed. I'm feeling very good about that Ekblad for Hoffman trade that I did back in the day. Mm-hmm. Traded away Hoffman to get Ekblad. Feel very good about it.
I got Ekblad for Obe Kubel in a
that was
dynasty
so
league.
stupid.
A bunch of people are probably going, who?
Total fleece. I only had 2 more here, really quick ones from the Ducks, Ricard Raquel and Max Comtois. Really haven't done anything as of late, and they're back to the Ducks of old. I think they were overinflated for a bit, and as usual with the Ducks, I think right now, with the way they play, it's very much a pick them up when they're hot, have a very short leash, and drop when they're not.
So the only reason I wouldn't put especially Raquel on is just for this coming week.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, though, it's just not. This is the thing with Raquel, though, and the guy like Comtois is they're putting up so many zeros. It's just like I'd rather have someone with less off nights that actually has a chance at doing something than someone like Raquel, who honestly has a chance of going pointless. Same with Comtois across all those off nights.
Well, I mean, pointless maybe, but I like Raquel because of the shots and hits.
You'll get that part, out of him. Yes. But otherwise, no. Okay, so let's move into long-term
Mike
targets.
Hoffman, as of course, literally just mentioned him. He has scored a goal.
Of course. Of course he has. Of course. This is literally our season. You're talking about like bad takes we've had this season. We've had all bad takes. But the amount of players we've called like sustainably low or drop candidates, and then they go on have like a tear that following week is ridiculous. I dropped Connor Garland, gets 2 points. I dropped Raquel, 2 points. It's just like, it's just been an anti-jinx year. And I know everyone in the comments and Twitter and stuff has used that, and in Discord used the anti-jinx a lot. It's real. It's insane.
Apparently.
At least we're not injuring players this year. That was worse. I'd rather have an anti-jinx.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move into long-term targets.
All right, my first one is Matt Grzelcyk.
I have him as well.
Defense 43%, although who knows what's going on with Boston yet. So you may not want to pick him up immediately, but just keep an eye on him. The most encouraging thing about him is his increase in shot production. Obviously, being on that top power play is what gives him any sort of life to begin with. But he's there and also producing points and shooting the puck. So all those things are what make me a little bit more bullish on him than I was when he returned from injury for the 18th time this season.
Yeah. My first was going to be Pavel Buchnevich. He is 50% owned. But if you haven't paid attention yet, he's becoming quite the star in both bangers and points leagues. He's been shooting a lot, getting a ton of minutes, playing sometimes up to 22 minutes a game. He's been shooting quite a bit at times. He's kind of been on and off with like 3-1 game, 1 the next game, then maybe 4. But points-wise, he's just a beast. He's really proven himself as a top-line winger right now, which is a big deal. So yeah, I really like Pavel Buchnevich.
Yeah, I agree with that one. My next one is Kasperi Kapanen, left wing, right wing, 39%. Well. As long as Malkin's out, he's a great look. 39%, like people have already jumped on him, but I think the biggest thing about him is that he's got that top power play line. The funny thing is, I'm sitting here mentioning him as a long-term target, but I'm kind of surprised he's already at 39% because his even strength line is not good. So you're really relying on him to be able to pick it up. He's going to get some more minutes at even strength most likely, but you'd really expect him to pick him up on the power play. And it's not like the hugest ask in the world, but I also don't think we're looking at like a 70-point player. I don't think we're looking at Russ 2.0 or anything.
No, I agree. He's more like a Bukestad. Remember when Bukestad came over? He was like good for a minute, and then kind of fell off. I think he reminds me a little bit of that. And since we're agreeing a little bit too much today, it's weird. The last one I have here is Cal Peterson on the Kings. Say you are a Hart owner, for example. and you need to find a new goaltender. Well, my first pick would be Jonathan Bernier if he were healthy. That's not the case. He's not healthy. So I would look at Cal Peterson, and I do have a goalie. I know all of you. I just know Leaf fans right now are sitting here being like, where's my goalie? Why isn't he getting mentioned? Just wait. He's coming. He's just not a long-term target yet. But Cal Peterson, to me, is a pretty legit long-term target. He has a .922 save percentage on the season. Quick has been all right. I think it'll be more of a 1A, 1B situation with Cal Peterson. But, I mean, if you're coming off of, like, Hart or someone like that, that's been brutal. I think I'd rather have a 1A, 1B situation than literally every single game just tanking me.
Yeah, for sure. It's been very tough to be a Hart owner.
Yeah. Which is something to consider, by the way. A lot of times, what people tend to forget sometimes, sure, it's fine to pay attention to your team, but when something happens like what's happening with Hart, and a player who is owned by a lot of people is playing poorly, and you're expecting a lot of drops to come in, you should assume that one goalie on your wire is going to be gone sometime soon if Hart hasn't been dropped already. So if you're in need of a goalie, or you have like this plan of like, oh, well, no one's picking up goalies, just pay attention to the fact that, Hart is most likely going to be dropped here in the next 2 weeks by a lot of people. So that lowers your goalie pool by one in case you need one.
Yeah.
So let's move into
I got two more,
week.
actually.
Oh, you got two more. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. My next one is Josh Morrissey.
Oh,
Defense,
yes, I like
44%. The funny thing is, I mentioned him not too long ago about not being super high on him because of his lack of shots. Mm-hmm. He's turned that around recently. He does do the hitting and blocking as well. He's just kind of clicking a little bit more than he was. I still don't really think that he's like incredible long term, but if he's willing to shoot, that just adds to his stat production. So I'm actually liking him as a Cats player, which I can't believe I'm saying right now. But he's really been filling the Cats. And, if he's able to do that and produce at like a half point per game or better pace, he's worth picking up in a lot of leagues.
He's filling the Cats.
Filling the Cats. And my
funny.
last one here is Ellie Tolvanen, left wing, right wing, 4% owned. So he's been playing with Forsberg and on top power play recently to like kind of varying extents. The main reason he's on here is because he's 4%. I was sort of surprised to see that he hasn't picked up a little bit more interest. I feel like he's been a name that we've been hearing. A lot of people have been speculating about how good he's going to be for a long time now, and he's getting a pretty decent shot here. So and producing at like various levels. Like he had a couple. He's been on and off basically, but off right now. But somebody that should be on your radar, especially if you're in a really deep league. Despite the fact that he's only got 1 point in his last 5 games, but I think that given his current deployment and especially that they're playing him top power play, I think he's going to start picking up points. I don't know that he's worth adding in shallow leagues or even 12-person leagues, but your 14, your 16-person leagues, he should probably be looked at.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Now I'm done.
Okay, so now we can move into the week preview. So teams with 2 or less games are going to be Minnesota, Los Angeles, Vancouver, and Toronto. So that's quite a few players there, especially LA, who usually has so many off nights. There's a good chance that you're holding, especially if you listen to the podcast, there's probably a good chance that you're holding an LA player. I have both iFollow and Kempe, so not the best week in the world to have stacked Kings a little bit for these off nights recently. Teams that play 3 off nights are going to be Montreal. That's the only team with 3. And then teams with good matchups, in my opinion, hand-picked here, is going to be Winnipeg, who has 2 Vancouver games and 2 Calgary games. Washington, who has 2 Devils games and 1 Ranger game. And then lastly, the Pittsburgh Penguins, because they play Buffalo twice. And once against the Isles, but mostly because they play Buffalo twice.
Oh, wait, what did you say about off nights?
Montreal is the only one with 3 off nights, right?
No, Anaheim and Jersey also do.
They have 3 or more?
Yep. Anaheim has the same ones as Montreal, but the Devils have that interesting Tuesday, which is an off night this coming week. Tuesday only has 6 games played, so they're Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, but they're still off nights.
Not often that I completely screw up the off nights, but this was one of those times, so I'll own up to it. Messed up there. Okay, so moving into short-term targets then. My first one, I don't have many.
They were hard to find.
One of them, kind of hard to find this week. I'll start first off, even though this one is just because this is more like a top-of-the-table play, and you want to be risky, and you want to take a gamble. Jack Campbell from the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Sure.
He's a short-term target for me because, and this is a good week to pick him up, I think, because no one else is really going to be paying attention because Toronto has 2 games. So if you're top of the table, you can afford to do this. There is a slim chance he steals the net from Frederik Andersen. It's way too early to tell, in my opinion. I don't know when that would happen, how long that might take, but there is a chance. He's played 4 games. Okay, like that. That's my issue with Jack Campbell right now, is that he's been injured and he's only played 3 games. I know what people are going to come in here. 2 games, sorry, or 4. What am I saying? He's in his 4th game right now.
There you go.
He's currently shutting out the Calgary Flames. So, this could come back and hit me in the face, but I think that he is worth the pickup. I will say that if you're towards the top. I don't think I'm not right now willing to say he absolutely will take over the net, which I think is what I'm seeing amongst a lot of Toronto fans saying. I think I've seen a lot of discussion of, that's it, Jack Campbell stealing the net. He just got back from injury and he's in his 4th game. I get it, he's shutting out the Flames, but I want to see him do this over a month. If he does this over a month, and that's probably what the Maple Leafs want to see too, can he do this over a month? Or is it that as soon as you start to give him a bunch of starts, does he crumble? Because there are goalies like that. You look at Cam Talbot. You can look at, who else am I thinking of? There's a few goalies out there. I'm completely blanking on
Jake
names.
Allen.
There's a few out there. Jake Allen's another one. You give them a ton of starts, that's it. They completely crumble. And so I could see Jack Campbell be more of like a literal 1A, 1B where they split like they do in Vegas or they do in LA. I think that makes a lot more sense with Freddie. Maybe give Campbell more starts closer to the playoffs if he really is the starter. But I'm not ready right now to say he is absolutely going to steal the net from Freddie. Just not ready to say that yet. But he is looking really, really good. And that's why he's on this list, but not quite on long-term target yet.
Yeah.
Just tempering expectations.
There's one thing, I probably should have added this when we were talking about the schedule, but the interesting bit about Vancouver and the LA's 2-game slates is that if you can fit them in Monday, and Monday, by the way, is not an off night this week, so don't go adding people for the typical Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday stuff, because Monday is actually the heaviest. No, it's 10 games though. It's a pretty heavy Monday night. So it's not an off night. But anyway, Vancouver and LA play Monday and Wednesday. So if you're doing your typical Sunday night, assessing your teams, and you're like, oh, I only get 2 starts out of my Kings players, I should drop them. You don't need to, actually. You can actually wait, especially the Kings who are playing the Sharks twice. You can wait until Thursday to make that move. And I suggest you do, actually. Unless there's somebody on the wire that makes a lot of sense right now. But it's going to be very difficult. Actually, it's going to be impossible to be able to maximize your starts any more than that. There's no team that plays Tuesday and Wednesday. So like the best you could do is do 2 drops, like move them for somebody like on Colorado or Philly who play Monday and Tuesday, or Arizona, and then move them again, which, that's a lot of maintenance to try to squeeze out 1 extra start. So my advice would be to take a look at if you want to hang on for those 2 games. Vancouver plays Winnipeg at home twice, and LA plays away at the Sharks twice. So neither one of those are necessarily bad holds. And just move them on Thursday. Anyway, my first one here, and this is for deeper leagues, is John Kuokkanen. I think I'm saying that right. Kuokkanen on the Devils. He's been playing top-line minutes. He's been playing pretty decent power play. He's been kind of similar to Tolvanen in a way, getting up and down as far as like production goes. But he's been doing well enough that I grabbed him in one of my leagues, a pretty deep league. But we'll see how he does. In fact, of course, tonight his minutes dropped off. But in a league where a 2% player is worth it, especially considering the off nights, he's somebody to pay attention to, especially if his deployment stays decent.
Yeah. My next one here is going to be from Montreal, and that's going to be Nick Suzuki, who I know is 56% roster, so that seems high. But the thing is, a lot of sharp owners dropped him in a lot of leagues. So he's available in one of my leagues, for example, and was just recently picked up in one of my other money leagues. And so he is out there. He's on a 2-game point streak. He just scored tonight against Vancouver. So he is someone for next week, I think, especially in points leagues, that looks extra interesting.
Yep. My next one is PK Subban. Also on the Devils with those 3 off nights, defense 25%. He's been playing majority of top power play. He's a PIM getter. His peripherals are always kind of okay. But at 25%, he's probably one of the only top power play defensemen you can find that has like any sort of upside. So worth a look for that reason. But I don't know how much I would really expect out of him.
Yeah. And before anyone asks, I'm not recommending Drysdale yet. I
No.
know everyone wants to hear his name, Jamie Drysdale, but
No.
I can't recommend
early.
it yet. It's too early. The Ducks are the Ducks. I know he had a 2-point night, but he only skated 18 minutes. I feel like we've seen this with defensemen before. Boquist came up, got a point his first game. I remember. I think it was him. There's been a few, and then they just kind of started to fall off as more minutes are given to them. So it's just, and then their minutes end up dropping. So I'm not ready to recommend Drysdale. And I don't have anybody else. I just wanted to kind of put out there that like I don't mind Drysdale as a gamble, but I think there's better out there.
Yeah.
So that's it.
I've got 2 more. One is Ricky Rax for the week.
Okay,
Left wing, right wing, 44%.
that's fine.
Just your standard off night play with some upside. And then my last one here is Jonathan Drouin, center left wing.
Okay.
They've kind of, it's hard to trust anything about what the lines actually are in Montreal as far as deployment goes. But technically that Kotkaniemi Drouin line is the first line. I don't know. They've been giving him a little bit more of a look, and he's gotten quite the assist spree recently. So some sort of point upside there. Also has the 3 off nights. Basically, this is the time if you're going to be looking for any HAB player that you might as well take your shot this week because you'll get the off nights on them.
Yep.
Even if they're not super interesting.
Yeah. Agreed. And there you go. That is the show. So definitely keep us posted. I mean, let us know in the comments, and I think also let us know on Twitter what you think about Wednesday's episode. If a more trade-centric episode would be helpful or not. It would be good to know, or if you prefer to just stay as
I wonder
normal.
what everybody's normal. I don't know if the deadlines have passed for most leagues at this point.
Yeah, that's mostly why I want to know. So, let us know whether the trade deadline episode would be helpful, or if a trade-centric episode like that would be helpful.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Yep. Thanks for listening.